Such a good riff. What's up everyone, Andrew Freed here. Today we're going to be breaking down Cult of Personality by Living Colour. We're going to check out the recommended live track, compare it with the isolated track, play along with it, teach it, all of that. So let's dive in. This tune was the opening track on the debut studio album Vivid in 1988. This badass riff has been idolized by musicians and music lovers, and in the bass world, it's often played wrong. Muzz Skillings was the original bassist. He left the band in '92 and was replaced by another beast, Doug Wimbish. People often mix this up. An absolute shred fest of a song. It's a really well-written song, and there's a lot of things that go under the radar. So I'm on my website, Bass Freedom, and on here you can recommend all these breakdowns I do on YouTube. Today, we're gonna look at Cult of Personality, and I would like to thank Tim R for sharing this. He says, Cult of Personality with Steve Vai. Guitar crazy as it is, the bass is fantastic. Yes, it is. Would love to see a breakdown. Thanks, Tim. Well, this is awesome. Oh, and he also attached, I saw here, another one too. So we'll look at both videos. We'll mix it up, and this is gonna be a sick breakdown. And as always, we're gonna look at the isolated track. They re-recorded this in 2010. Apparently, there's some false tracks laying around. Like if you search isolated bass, it's like not the right one, because there was Guitar Hero, Rock Band. There is some like questionable tracks going around. So I'm gonna use the newest one and we're gonna look at it. So let's first listen to this live track with Steve Vai. It's pretty recent. It was from Rock in Rio in Brazil in 2022. So let's see what we're working with. A lot of people. Back. Such a good riff. I think he's playing a Spectre. They sound great, especially the singing. Bass goes off. Alright, so that was awesome. They sound great. The singer sounds amazing. Obviously, since it was live, it was fast. And I didn't see Steve Vai doing anything crazy different. I think he was just there, like, playing what the track originally does, which is cool. He's not, you know, changing it into something else. So let's start breaking this down. Let's talk about the original main riff. So with this riff, the first thing to keep in mind is that the bass doesn't do the same thing as the guitar, but it almost does. It hits the low note instead of the high note here. And most people's ears probably hear the guitar hitting that higher E, the higher octave. That's something that I've noticed in the re-recording and live that he does. Sometimes the bass will hit that higher note. Once we pull up the isolate track, you'll realize it's mostly that low E. In terms of music theory, this riff is just taken from the G Mixolydian scale. This scale signifies a dominant chord is being played. So this riff is all a G7 chord. That's it, just one chord, and it's playing that scale. Some may know the Mixolydian scale as a mode. Don't think modally here. I'm not going to dive into that. I just want you to know that that's the scale being used for this song, and really, that's all you need to know. Dominant chord and Mixolydian, and you're going to be good to go. So I'm really digging in here so you can hear a little bit of growl with the bass. These guys is playing a rockin' riff. I'm trying to really dig in and match that intensity. Hey, please give this video a like if you're enjoying this. I really appreciate it, and it goes a long way for the channel. So there's a couple different ways you could play this. It's preference. I don't think it changes the entire feel of the riff. It's just whatever's easiest for you. So you could do pull-offs. You could simply play the notes. And you can play the notes the same like I just did, but with no open strings. And as this intro moves forward, it hints at the big riff, I'm gonna call it, which is that crazy section. Just does one measure before that big riff, which we'll get to. The whole song is in 4, but that big riff, the crazy section, is going to be in 3. So right here, it just has that one random measure of 3 before we're back to the groove, which is pretty cool. So now let's look at the isolated track with everything I said, the bass hitting the low E, the cool extra rhythm, the big section, everything we're hinting at just from this one riff. Let's listen to it with the 2010 re-recorded, remastered take, and we'll isolate the bass. I use a program called Moises, which is cool. It's a little robotic sounding, but it's as good as we're gonna get. So you could clearly tell that there's doing that low E. Let's keep listening here. So during the verses, they have these nice little breaks, which is really fresh after this crazy riff. It just has these B flat to F measures, and sometimes it goes B flat to C. Let's hear it with the live version. So when they say cult of personality, that's a lot of times when this is happening. So now let's look at the big section, the big riff section. Then we're in the chorus. So again, this section, while it's just tough to play, we change time signatures. Our meter goes to 3/4. It's all 16th notes, and it's still sang in that G Mixolydian scale. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a. So we have a 2-bar phrase. Starts off just like the normal riff, but then we have some cool little phrasing within this scale. You can really hear that Mixolydian scale. Mixolydian essentially means that you have a flat 7 within this major chord. So your arpeggio, your scale is really heavy with that flat 7, that minor 7th sound, which is common in all of blues and rock and jazz, but it could also be in this heavier rock, which is just sick. Let's play along with it. Learning this will definitely make you a better player. When we get to the chorus, it's definitely a melodic break from the madness. It just has a simple chord progression. We have these major chords now with some melodic singing, and it's a nice break before the craziness returns. He's being very active over the chorus, but he's not consistent with what he does from chorus to chorus. So like all songs, you should always know the chords you're playing over and learn the meat, what the bass player consistently does. And you can make this a little more of your own. You wouldn't make the main riff your own, then it wouldn't be Cult of Personality. But sometimes when it comes to progressions that have some movement and space, you can do your own thing. But what we have here and that I transcribed in the first chorus is this. A lot of fills and approach notes, but it's just outlining those main chords. As a bass player, if you're learning this, you want to make sure that you are just knowing where your root notes, where the chords are. And once you move to them, it's game over. So then there's that shredding crazy solo, and then we're back to the verse. This is all repetitive. Everything we've gone over happens again. The bass line stays the same. He holds it down during that shred fest. And then there's a verse 2. And then we have another chorus. This is where the bass really starts to go off more. I want you to listen to this. Tim was cool enough to showcase multiple videos. And this Howard Stern 2016, so it's not as recent, but it was amazing. You better mix because it's in the studio and you can really hear the bass and the vocals. This guy did not lose any of his pipes. Sounds great. Check this out. Studio track looks like he does the low E almost every time, and live he really mix and matches it. Look at the second chorus here. He starts to really get busy. Woo! There's this really cool thing he's doing there. He still has the main blueprint of his bass line with arpeggios and approach notes, that movement and rhythmically active, but he does this cool thing over the D major measure. He tends to crawl up to the higher major third or the ninth of this song. When I say ninth, I'm talking intervals, not frets. But ironically enough, it is the ninth fret of this. So here's what I'm saying. Goes up to that third and also kind of playing a chord, letting the open D ring. So if you ever watch this live, you're gonna notice that cool little addition in the chorus. I'm gonna transcribe the full thing and put it on Bass Freedom as I clearly need to learn this more. This Howard Stern version is really good. Get your headphones on, listen to this full thing without my commentary over it, and you will hear a lot of really cool bass nuances. As for the rest of the song, there's an epic outro with that big riff, and that's pretty much it. It has a cool ending, but if you listen here, it's just... Can do for you. That's that Mixolydian sound still. It's just a 6 song, guys. Pretty much the main craziness is from one scale, and it's just the technical, mechanical ability that's gonna be tough. But you can choose which way you want. Do you wanna do pull-offs? Do you wanna do open strings? Do you just wanna try and play with your fingers? Sure, some of you use a pick too. It's all game. Check out these live versions and listen to the isolated track too. Rewind and check that out. Definitely some good spice that you should learn how to do on your bass. Thanks again to Tim for recommending this. I got my workout in today. This was a really fun tune to break down. You guys over on Bass Freedom, keep them coming, and I'll see you for the next breakdown. Peace!